Alright, so today we're working on a 2015 Dodge Durango 3.6 liter. Today we're taking off, or should I say we're replacing the spark plugs and one ignition coil. So let's start off by taking that cover and then removing this intake boot here by the airbox. You want to pull up, and then we're going to do the same thing over by the throttle body. Make sure to take off that PCV hose, and it should come right out. Then go ahead and get that out of your way. Next, we're going to go ahead and also disconnect this other PCV hose that goes to the valve cover on the other side. Get that out of the way. Now we're going to go ahead and start disconnecting all the connectors that go through the throttle body and everything you see around there. If you use any sort of pliers, make sure not to be too aggressive, as you can damage the connector. Now there's going to be two nuts back here as well that are going to be in our way. Or should I say, there's going to be two nuts back here, and it mates the intake manifold to a bracket. All you really need to do is take those nuts off, and you should be able to pull the manifold forward when you're trying to remove it. Next, on this side, we have another set of bolts. The two lower ones are the more difficult ones, especially on this vehicle. On the chassis, like on the on the chassis, like on the Caravan, it's a lot easier because the engine is transverse. But here we have a little spacing issue on this driver's side. So in a little bit, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So see right here, you can see that one stud in the very front and the one I'm working on. I'm removing that rear one just to try to be able to move it. It's actually a pain in the butt, to be quite honest. Since I don't have enough space or really want to remove the brackets, I'm going this route, but you may have to loosen and or remove those black brackets that it's connected to. So it's going to be different for everybody. Now we're going to go ahead and loosen up the bolts for the manifold. The rear one, as you'll see, I have to go and grab something smaller because I don't have enough space. So not this one, but the one behind this one. There we go. It's one of those moments I wish I was taller so I could get back in there quickly. So let's loosen that one. Why doesn't it come out? The spacing is a little tight in that area, so hopefully you have the right length of extension. And right here, I forgot about that second bolt. So don't be me, and then have to go back there again. Now that I got that one, here we go, it's out. Now I can come here and try to push this, sorry, pull this forward. But I need to be able to show you, see. Now there might be a hose back there or something else grabbing onto it. Depending on what I'm doing, I'll typically just move it to the side. Now we're gonna go ahead and take out the bolts for the ignition coils. Some of these just wiggle back and forth, and then you can pull up and it'll come out most of the time. Sometimes the boots will get stuck in there, but depending on how long it's been there, it won't. Also make sure to cover the intake ports if you're going to leave it out for an extended period of time, or just as a precaution so nothing falls in there. Once you're done, go ahead and put these guys back. Now I would typically leave the bolts on the coil just so you don't lose the bolts, because they can be a pain in the butt to find, especially if they fall down. Why did I do it like that this time? I don't know. Usually I leave them on there and just pull the coil out, but it just so happened to go this way. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and change out these gaskets. I would highly recommend not reusing these. Because I've seen it where they've been left the same and then there is an intake manifold leak. And sure enough, it's in the gasket area. So just make sure to use new ones. Make sure to clean that oil up, because there will be some oil in those intake ports. And make sure the gasket sits properly as well. This is one of those areas where this is one of those areas where you want to go a little bit slow, since you want it to sit properly. I would say this is the most critical area, because if it doesn't sit right, then that's where you have air leaks and you have to redo it over, and nobody wants to do that. So you'll feel it, and these are nice. I like these gaskets because they're not as loose as some other vehicles. I call them pressed to fit or whatever. Let's put this thing back. Not sure what you call it. Now we're going to go ahead and sit the manifold back on. I'd have to use a little bit of force. Once that gets on there, I guess we're not doing that right now, but after we change out these spark plugs, we're going to go ahead and tighten up the intake manifold. So let's get through this part quickly. So I do the harder side just so I feel better. And again, if you're going to use any sort of pliers when trying to remove the connector, just be careful. Anyways, as I was saying, I typically do the right side first, where the manifold is covering the coils, only because it makes the job feel easier. Because if you do the easy side and then do the hard side, then you don't feel as good as if you did the hard side first and then did the easy side. If that makes any sense to anybody. I know it makes sense to me, but it might not make sense at all. Now I'm just rambling. But anyways, let's get these coils. Sorry, whoops. Let's get these spark plugs switched out. I'll take that one, jump to the next one. you get the gist of how this is pretty much going to go. Try avoiding using any sort of power tools to install and remove these. Alright, so those guys are in. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this new coil in there as well. And I'm going to set the rest of them as well. And if you see on this side, I ended up leaving the bolts on the coil. And boom. That part is done. Easy peasy. Now let's go ahead and tighten these guys up real quick. I don't think I've ever seen anybody over tighten these, but I always have to say be careful. Everybody's a little different. Okay, here comes the fun part. I usually try to start off with the rear. That's the one that's harder to get to. Now when you are tightening these, do not tighten it all the way. Just make it snug. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten it. Only because you don't want to go tight and then tight on the other side. It'll create the, I forgot what you call it, but the mating surface, or the pressure on the mating surface, will not be distributed as equally. So here, right, yes, I am using a power tool, but I am stopping as soon as it touches, because I'm going to do everything by hand right here. So see, I'll start here. Typically I'll do some sort of pattern. In this case, we're just going this way for now. And do not ask me what the torque spec on this is, because it's very small. I think, if I remember correctly, it was 5 to 7 foot-pounds. Super small. And again, do not go Chuck Norris on these bolts, because the lower plenum will get stripped, and then you'll just have to replace the lower plenum, and that's another job in itself. Not as hard, but still, you're gonna have to just don't do it. You'll regret it. I've seen it happen. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful to all of you, and thanks for liking and subscribing and all that fun stuff. Bye.